Hello, today we are going to share on the 14th Sunday of the year. And in the Gospel, we'll look at the readings. In the Gospel, Jesus said, "A prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his kin and in his own house." Here, Jesus experienced that the people familiar with him since he was a child could not accept his special. He cannot accept Jesus being special. So here we will look into this more in the Gospel. And here is St. Paul in his sharing with his community in the Corinthians, the second reading. And his experience is that when I am weak, then I am strong, because of God's grace, God's strength with him. We will see this later on. So the first reading is from the prophet Ezekiel. As the Lord spoke to me, that means Ezekiel, the Spirit entered into me and set me on my feet. And I heard the one who was speaking say to me, that means the one is God speaking to him, "Son of God, I am sending you to the Israelites, rebels who have rebelled against me. They and their ancestors have revolted against me to this very day." That means during this period, the Israelites were rebelling against God. Hard of face and obstinate of heart, they are they to whom I am sending you. So God was warning the prophet that he would encounter these people. "But you shall say to them, 'Thus says the Lord,' and whether they heed or resist, for they are a rebellious house, they shall know that a prophet has been among them." Here, God reminded Ezekiel that they might not accept him, might resist him, but they might also heed him. But whatever they do, at least they would know that a prophet has been among them. That means Ezekiel being a prophet among them. Now we come to the second reading, the second letter to the Corinthians. Brothers and sisters, that I, Paul, that means St. Paul, who wrote the letter to the Corinthians, that I, Paul, might become too elated because of the abundance of the revelations. A thorn in the flesh was given to me, an angel of Satan to beat me, to keep me from being elated. That means Paul was very happy because he had many revelations. So, but a thorn was, he experienced weaknesses also. And in experiencing the weaknesses, his weaknesses and faults and other things, he would keep him from being too elated. 3 times I begged the Lord about this, that it might leave me. That means the thorn might leave him. But he said to me, "My grace is sufficient for you, for power is made perfect in weakness. I will rather boast most gladly of my weakness." This is St. Paul speaking. "In order that the power of Christ may dwell in me." Therefore I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and constraints for the sake of Christ. For when I am weak, then I am strong. So Paul experienced this, that the strength of Christ would help him, that the grace of God would strengthen him in his weaknesses and problems. Then now we come to, and we must learn from the example of St. Paul, that when we are weak and have faults and have problems, to depend on the strength of Christ, to depend on the grace of God. Now we come to the Gospel of St. Mark. Jesus departed from there and came to his native place, accompanied by his disciples. When the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue, and many who heard him were astonished. They said, "Where did this man get all this? What kind of wisdom has been given him? What mighty deeds are wrought by his hands? Is he not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? And are not his sisters here with us?" So here, these are all relatives of Christ. And the son of Mary, this will be his intimate family, closest family. But these are all relatives. And they took offense at him. The people there took offense at Christ. Why? Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his native place, and among his own kin, and in his own house." So here, because they are familiar with Christ since he was a child, and they were surprised that he had wisdom, such wisdom and such power, and they could not accept it. They have already established that Christ was just an ordinary person, and they could not accept that he was showing such a wisdom and such a power. So they refused to accept this and were against him for this. We must not be like these people. We must not, whether we are very familiar with anyone and we think anyone is very limited, but when they have great wisdom, they suddenly seem to have great wisdom, that we must not despise them, but learn to accept and learn from them. And so here Jesus said, so Jesus was not able to perform any mighty deed among them there, apart from curing a few sick people and laying his hands on them. He was amazed at their lack of faith. So here we should learn not to be like that. Even if we are very surprised at someone's sudden wisdom and ability, we must learn to accept and with wonder and admiration, learn to admire what we do not expect, but which is good and wise. So here Jesus said, a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his kin and in his own house. And here we are reminded about Paul When I'm weak, then I'm strong with the strength of God. Now, to this time, I want to share share about the Breastfeeding Week, a very important World Breastfeeding Week. It is in August the 1st to the 7th. The theme this year is closing the gap. What gap? Closing the gap to give breastfeeding support for all. And we must make sure that everyone understands the importance of breastfeeding. Here we explain, breast milk is the most perfect food for babies and very, very important. The Catholic Breastfeeding Association in Hong Kong promotes breastfeeding, can give counsel to individuals and groups, and would recommend Catholic hospitals to promote and practice breastfeeding. That means if some people want to breastfeed but don't know how to go about it and do not understand fully how to go about it, the members of the Catholic Breastfeeding Association can help and give counsel to individuals or to communities or to parishes. And they would recommend Catholic hospitals in Hong Kong to promote and practice breastfeeding, that those mothers who have babies born in Catholic hospitals, that the Catholic hospitals would encourage them to breastfeed, because breastfeeding babies is very important and the perfect food for babies. We must promote this, and the World Breastfeeding Association hope that the whole world will help to support everyone to breastfeed. Now we must learn from that, and we must also do this promotion and supporting. God bless.